What's up, everyone? Kevin here from Skywatcher. Welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We cover everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. Real quick before I bring Alex in and we start our tech talk for this quarter, just a few little things here. If you like what you see here on the channel, please leave a like, subscribe, let us know we're doing a good job. You can head over to skywatcher.threadless.com and you can check out all the cool swag. I think Alex is rocking one of the shirts today too. He's got a few of them. And then we also have a sale going on, a remarkable refractor reduction sale. So if you're looking for one of our refractors, you can get a pretty good deal on some of those right now while we have inventory. And we also, what else is going on in Skywatcher world? The wave mounts are getting pretty close to release. We're getting excited about those. And then, of course, there's our What's Up webcast. And then the 25th anniversary scope is in stock. So you can go to our website and buy it or buy it through your favorite dealer as well. So that is what is going on there. So, we're going to get started. If you've got any tech questions, something going on with your stuff, this is the episode to talk about it because we have myself and Alex, our lead tech support guy, with us today. And boom, there's Alex. So good morning, Alex. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Kevin?
Good. It's Friday, so kind of a hazy day here in the Phoenix area, but it's Friday. So
a little strange looking out there.
I don't know if there's some smoke.
By the way,
there it is. There's the Esprit shirt.
They look
good. See, they're real.
And then right back there's the anniversary.
Yep. Alex has his. I've added some things to the studio, so mine is put away at the moment. I need to find a spot for it.
I like the fish tank. Fish tank's back.
Yeah. Everybody was like, where's the fish tank? So the big one's gone. The big one that we started with is gone, has a new home. But we've converted everything over to saltwater. So there's the 20-gallon anemone tank back there. And then the 130-gallon reef tank is outside because it won't fit in here. And it doesn't need to be on carpet. So, but yeah. So today is Tech Talk. This is where we answer all kinds of technical questions from you guys. Alex, I know we've been working with some stuff this week. So I figured I'd start with you and go from there until we get some questions in the chat.
So we're always happy to help you guys out. Easiest way to get a hold of me is to just shoot an email to us. We are support@skywatcherusa.com. You can also call in. We are usually here on the phones from 8 to 4, but we get a lot of people calling in. A lot of times we might be away measuring parts for somebody. So if you don't get a hold of us right away on the phone, shoot us an email. And we'll get back to you as soon as we can, or leave us a voicemail. I get a lot of people that call and don't leave voicemails, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But those will help us get back to you and make sure that we get you guys under the stars where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and when I was doing tech support, it was very much the same. If you don't leave a voicemail, it doesn't help us, and likely we won't end up calling you back on that because there's a bunch of other people that have left voicemails and they have told us what's going on, and that's it. But if you call and you don't leave anything, it kind of says my problem's not that important and you won't tell us stuff. Because if you don't tell us anything, there's no way we can prep to call you back and be like, hey, what's going on? Especially when we have emails coming in. And also one thing, I know a lot of times you might call in and be like, okay, well, send us an email, and you might not like that. However, the reason we want you to write an email into support is because we use a ticketing system. And if you write an email, it immediately creates a ticket number, and we're able to track that and monitor the whole thing. So if anything gets lost or whatever, we have it all documented, and we can just look up your ticket number, and it makes it way easier for everyone. So just because we ask you to email in, it's not that we don't want to deal with you. It's that we want to document it, and we can keep track of it if we need to backtrack. So
yeah, and our ticket system creates an extensive log of our email exchanges. So sometimes I'll tell somebody, hey, try this, and they're like, I told you in the beginning I've done this, so I can go back and I can look. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, let's try this instead. I see that you already did that, so we're going to run through it. And then we'll we'll be able to bounce back and forth the ideas and the thoughts. Kevin and I can't be there when your mount's acting up. I mean, I wish we could, but we can't. So you guys need to be our eyes. You need to be our ears. And a lot of times I'll email somebody saying, hey, can you try this? And I'll get a message back saying, yeah, I've already tried that. And I'm like, well, here's what I need to do. I need you to try it and watch and listen and kind of document where the issue is or what the sound is so that I know, because I wasn't there when it initially happened. And when you were doing it, you were probably just going, oh, there's a problem. Let me shut it down and start over and try this and try that. So you're not thinking about the actual breakdown of the issue. You're just thinking of the immediate problem that's happening. So when I send you guys some directions, let's try them out and see, because we have a certain kind of process we go through that in our brains help us diagnose your issues.
I mean, it's hard when we're trying to do. I even do this with friends. It's hard to diagnose a problem when you're not there and you can't get your hands on it. And we try our best, but a lot of times, especially if you email in and like Alex said, it's like, well, I've already done that. It's like, well, we haven't, and we're just getting started on an issue you might have been crunching on for a while. So unfortunately, we have to backtrack to get us up to speed, so then we're able to be on the same page as you. So it's not that we're here to like annoy you or waste your time. If anything, we don't want to do that at all. We would much rather be like, oh, I know the answer, boom, have a great day, clear skies. But we do have to backtrack a bit to get up to speed, so that way we can be like, okay, I know where you're at, we're on the same page, let's progress forward to find the issue there.
Right. And Kevin and I, when we think about mounts, we don't think about a unit that has two motors that points to a point in the sky. We're thinking about a complex computer system that does mathematical equations at high speed to keep you centered on a specific star. What the mount does is kind of amazing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But when there's an issue with that, sometimes it's hard to pinpoint what the issue is. So if I get somebody calling me in saying, my guiding, I've got tracking stars, I've got this. When I come at you and say, hey, what are you using for power? Don't go, wait a second, it's guiding issue. I'm trying to figure out where the problem is. And 9 times out of 10, it starts with power. Then we go into settings and how you're set up. Then we start into the mechanical stuff, because most of the time it's something in those first 2 sections that where the issue is, and so it helps us diagnose the issue. So if you're like, this is a bizarre question, try to do it, see what it does, give me the results, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and one thing that there's a couple questions that are coming in. We'll get them in a minute since they're not to this particular topic, but we'll get there in just a few seconds, guys. Is one thing I notice a lot, particularly with beginners, is you went online, whether it was like Cloudy Nights or forum websites. There's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of bad information out there, unfortunately. It has nothing to do with the websites or anything like that. It's just you're getting a million opinions on the same thing, or the Facebook groups or whatever. There's a lot of good information online, but there's a lot of terrible information online too, and it's hard to get through. But I see a lot of beginners, they just go out, they spend a bunch of money, they downloaded all this software, and now they're confused. Now something's not working, blah, 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 blah. Well, now we need to scrub through all the variables to figure out what the actual issue is. Because a lot of times people call up and be like, your mount's not working, it's not guiding right, I want a new one, blah, 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 blah. And we're not saying you're wrong. There might indeed be something wrong with that, and that's what you're seeing. But when you're new, we have to, we got to scrub through all the variables. So it's like, if I'm having guiding problems and Nina's not working and EQ mod, it's like, okay, I don't care about Nina, I don't care about EQ mod. It has nothing to do with it. What we need to get to is scrub those away. Start with the mount, basic.
Hand controller, battery. That's it.
Yeah, go from there. Then we add the guider and PhD2 and get that. And if we can figure out where the issue is there, because most of the time it does sit within PhD2 and some setting is wrong or whatever. Because PhD2 literally stands for push here dummy. That is what PhD stands for. So PhD2, a lot of people like to mess with it. Most of the time you just hit go and calibrate and it does it. Not saying things don't happen. We've seen plenty of times, but don't be messing with a bunch of other things when we're just trying to figure out one thing, because you're adding variables to the problem that really drag the process out, and you get frustrated, we get frustrated because we're not able to pinpoint what's going on, and we want to help you. So
Yeah, and when you get a new mount, and you get all your stuff, and I know you want to set it all up, just hook up the hand controller and the battery, and do a polar alignment, do a 2-star alignment, stick it on a star, see if it runs right. View some stuff, pop an eyepiece in, get used to the mount, get used to the way it runs, get used to the way it sounds, so that when you start hooking everything else up, if something goes wrong, you're like, wait a second, it doesn't normally sound like that, or wait a second, it doesn't normally do this. If you put everything together and hook it up and it starts doing helicopters on you, now we've got to go through the whole process to figure out where the issue is.
yeah, so just take your time. We got a couple questions here, Alex. The first one here, Mike S. I could probably answer this one because it relates to older scopes. What's the difference between the EvoStar 120 ED without shot glass logo, and I'm assuming the one that doesn't have the shot glass logo? Honestly, they're the same. It's just a branding thing. If I'm being snarky about it, one has a shot logo, one doesn't have a shot logo. But honestly, that's the only difference. In order for us to change glass, you have to change prescriptions, and it's a whole big thing. So as far as I know, nothing has been changed optically on the Evo Stars because their performance is still, solid, whether it's an old one or a new one. If you're asking what year it was made, I don't know. We don't document it on that level. We make so many Evo Stars globally that we're not set up to do serial numbers in that case on an Evo Star. The Esprits have serial numbers, but the Evo Stars don't. So I don't know what year yours was made. The shot glass, it depends. Now, if you could tell me what color tube it is it the old blue ones? Is it the old gold ones? Or is it the black diamond finish? Does it have the green trim lines? You can kind of get a rough window, but I'll never be able to tell you exactly what year it was. The next couple, Alex, you should be able to help with. Do you ever do virtual troubleshooting? I'm assuming that's over like Zoom or something.
No, but there has been a discussion about it, so possibly in the future, but nothing at this point.
The hard thing with the virtual stuff, I've like remoted into people's machines before to help them with firmware. I don't like doing that because you're in someone's machine at that point. And if you do anything different,
wrong, it can really do stuff
they can get upset about. So I don't like to mess with people's stuff unless it's a last resort. And that's normally because they don't know how to work with the firmware. But there has been talk about virtual stuff. The problem with doing it is we need to be on a timely manner because there's a bunch of people who need help. So if we're stuck on a call for an hour, and you really got to make sure that the time is used properly. I'm not saying anybody here, but we've worked with people before that end up just wanting to talk shop and talk hobby and stuff. And as much as we all like doing that at star parties when we're hanging out, during business hours when we're trying to help people, if you're just here to, talk our ear off and then finally tell us that the last 10 seconds of the conversation, what you actually called for was a screw, it means we jammed up the lines and backlogged things because we just need you to be on top of it. So let's see. How can you enter an object in SynScan Pro app that is not Messier/NGC like Carbon Stars like T-Lyra? Good question. I'll have to open that up and actually look if you can put like right ascension and declination in there.
Yeah, and I think you can do that with the Celestron remote if I'm not
like if
mistaken.
you're using Star Sense or something like that. You can do it in our hand controller. You can put in like user objects. Oh, you can do it in here, right there. User objects. So you go into user objects. You're probably going to have to, where is it? Of course, now it's fighting against me. So on the home page of the app, middle right here, it's user objects. You press that I don't think it'll let me do it because I'm not connected to anything. Yeah, and you can put like T Lira in there, and I think you can label it T Lira and put the right ascension and declination. What I normally do is I'll go to Sky Safari, find the RA and deck, record it, and then I'll put it into the user database. And then that way, anytime I want to kick it back to that target, it's in there. So, but yeah, so hopefully that helps for now. It would be nice if we just had a cool catalog of stuff like that. But obviously we can't put every target everybody wants in there. But, you know, for now, that's how you would do it.
Hey, Kevin, I'm going to jump on my power soapbox here.
Oh,
because
Alex.
look, I'm probably preaching to the choir because you guys that are watching this, you're informed. You keep up to date. You know what's going on. But one of the biggest issues I see is power. Don't plug your mount into your car. It's just not a clean power source. Most of our stepper motors need a 12-volt, 4-amp power supply. So make sure that you have the right power supply. You know, and then beyond that, when you're in the field, make sure you have a good battery. I know there's a lot of batteries, and we started seeing this about, I don't know what, 9-10 years ago, the flood of like those personal battery packs on the market. Watch those as well. There's a lot of brands out there that just threw them out there to get, you know, power out there. And so battery quality can be an issue as well. There's a lot of these power packs that'll only charge to 12 volts, which means if you put your mount on it and start running it, after about an hour, you're down to 11.8 and then 11.5. And now you're running into an area where the motors might not run very well. So my advice is invest in good power. And that way you don't have any issues in the field when you're out trying to do your, you know, your dark sky weekend and you're like, why is my mount not working? And, you know, I have to tell these guys after the weekend, it looks like it's your power. So let's invest in good power. Let's stay away from the car. Let's stay away from some of these cheap batteries that we can find on Amazon. Let's look for good astronomical power, like the Celestron lithium power tank. I know there's a few other brands out there that make really nice stuff, but that's just one off the top of my head.
Yeah. Sorry about the gurgling sound. The tank in the back was trying to fill itself, and it needs to be filled. So,
oh, good. It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't anybody. It was just all that. So, oh, here's a relevant one. Can you damage your mount using the wrong power source?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We see it a lot. And we'll get people that'll call in and they'll say, my motor's dancing. It's kind of making a grinding noise and dancing and shaking. And that's when I'm going to have you get your hand controller out, plug it in, and I'm going to have you go into the voltage and see what the mount is getting for voltage. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be like, below 12.
Any disadvantages using extension cords from home-based?
No, I don't think so.
That's pretty clean. I do it all the time, but it's clean at that point. The problem.
Just plug your power source in at the end of the cord where you plug your mount in. So you got your power source there.
The bigger issue is like some of these batteries. Like when you're plugging into AC, it's like a constant stream of power. There's no dips or fluctuations. When you're using batteries, some batteries are better at maintaining a smooth current, where other ones they dip and they dip quickly. So yeah.
So a lot of these, if you look at the performance of a lot of the astronomical batteries, they'll actually, when you see like a normal battery as it kind of tears off and gets weaker, you see the power rating drop. But a lot of the astronomical are actually made to hold that 12 volts until it's out, and then it shuts off. Literally, your battery cuts off when it dips below that. At least I know that the Celestron brand works like that.
Yeah, I use that. Actually, I have a power tank right.
Oh yeah,
there.
I see one over there.
I like them a lot because they've been designed by astronomers. I know there's a lot of people who are using Jackeries. I've had mixed reactions to Jackeries. If it works, great. I've had people fry boards with Jackeries. Some of the Jackeries I don't like. They're like plugs. They're really just weird. They're not solid. Obviously, I'm sure not all of them are that way, as there's plenty of people using them, but some of their ports that I've seen on previous batteries are a little weak.
And from what I've seen is there was a big run of counterfeit batteries as well that used other names and looked just like other things. So, I mean, make sure you got the right power source, make sure it's the right brand, make sure everything's working correctly. Check it in the hand controller if you're not sure. Yeah. Sorry, Kevin. Didn't mean to jump on you. But.
No, you're good.
Came right in there.
Another question. So my buddy Tony, what's the back focus of the Esprit 80 ED flattener? I've seen it listed as 66/61, and I've been told it's 55. It really depends on what
Camera.
thread you're going to. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. So the back focus for all of our correctors is whatever is listed in the manual. The Esprits, however, have various step-down rings that eat up some of that back focus to get you down to the final 48 millimeter threads that we use. So on an Esprit 80, and keep in mind, you do have about a millimeter or two of wiggle room on some of this stuff. It doesn't have to be like dead on. I don't think Alex can see this, but you guys can. This is the Esprit 80 manual. The flattener, from where the threads end, that little shoulder on the end of the flattener, like if you took the M48 step down ring off and everything, that's 66 millimeters. That is the back focus of the field flattener. However, you have to remember we include a step down ring that takes you from that big 66 millimeter thread, or I'm sorry, whatever the thread is on this. It's a M66 right there. But then nothing really has a 66 millimeter thread. So you're going to need some custom adapter or whatever to get you to whatever your camera is. Now, when you get an Esprit, they come down with a step down ring that takes you from the large 60 plus whatever threads, because they vary, of the flattener, and they drop you down to the 48 millimeter thread that you would use to adapt a camera. When we take you to 48 millimeters on any one of our products, 55 millimeters is the back focus from there, because that ring is eating up some of that 66 millimeter back focus of the flattener. So when you use our 48 millimeter step down, you're at 55. Now, if you want to get all the back focus out of your Esprit corrector, then you would remove the M48 and then you get some custom adapter from like Precise Parts or something like that and thread that in there. But yeah, 66 is the Esprit full back focus for the 80, but then when you have the M48 step down installed, it eats 10 millimeters or so, or 11 millimeters up, bringing you to 55. So,
there we go.
So ta-da. But pretty much everything, if there's 48 millimeter thread on our scope, whether it's the Esprits or the Quattro corrector or the Evo Star correctors, whenever we hit 48 threads, it's 55 millimeters from there, because it's made to handle a DSLR, and everything has been built around that framework of 55 millimeters, even like the ZWO stuff and other things like that. So
now remember, if you're using a DSLR, you have to compensate for the body as well. So when you look at the top of a DSLR, there's a little mark right there, and that indicates where the face of your sensor is. So you're actually going to measure to that part if you're using a DSLR to get your accurate 55
And the manufacturers will also tell you, it's called a flange distance when you're looking at like any regular camera, like Canon, Nikon, Sony, Olympus, Fuji, whatever. They all have a flange distance. So you can look it up for your particular model. Pretty much once you get to a particular company, they all have essentially the same flange distance for their lenses to all work. So you'd measure that, and that you would subtract whatever flange distance from 55, and that's how much room you have left that you have to eat up with spacers or accessories or whatever. So let's see. Oh, for the person who was asking the age of their telescope, it's a black diamond version. That could be 2010 to ish, maybe a little earlier than that, all the way up to probably 2017. It could be even older than that. I don't remember when black diamond started, so it's probably older than that. Mid 2000s, and then we made the switch to the green trim, I think in like 2015 or 2016 is when we switched to the green trim colors. So if it's just a basic Evo Star with no green dovetail or green lines around the naming on the side of it, then yeah, mid 2000s up to 15, 16, somewhere in there. So let's see. When I first purchased my Evo Star 72 years ago, Skywatcher recommended to use a reducer flattener for the 80 ED as you did not have the 72 ED version. I see now you have the 72, same item. It is not the same item. All the Evo Star correctors are matched to the prescription of that lens, particularly, and the back focus is slightly accounted for in the housing of the corrector. I think the optics in the 72's reducer are a bit different. It's expensive for that particular scope, although you can't take the price of the telescope into consideration for optical accessories. It's just however much it costs to make that, and that's what it is. Now, would you see a performance difference between the 80 ED and the 72 if you had the 80's reducer already? You'd really have to have them side by side probably to see, and it depends on how big your sensor is. But you're probably okay. You might get a little bit better performance with the matched one, but is it worth you going and spending the money? That's up to you.
Yep. Shoot a picture. If your stars look good, then don't mess with it.
That is literally the key to everything. How do your stars in your picture? Well, my guide looks terrible. You know, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
But your stars are amazing.
Yeah, so... if the stars in your picture look good and they're not streaked and they're sharp, I don't care what your guide graph looks like or what your number is.
It's just a tool to help you.
That's it.
And if it's not helping you,
yeah. Let's see. Hi all. From Dunedin, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. I am in rural Bortle 3 skies. Lucky.
Nice.
Need a fast scope to photo the southern sky. Any news on the HAC? You said 150. I'm assuming you mean the 125 deliveries in production. So for those who need to know about the HAC, I've gotten in trouble about this. The HAC is this little, it's kind of like a RASA, if you will, although it's not. That's why I'm very careful to say. The concept is similar. Light goes in the front, goes through a corrector, hits a mirror, and then up through another set of correctors up to the front. I don't have any information on the HAC 125 because we're not selling it here in the States. It just doesn't meet what we're looking for, and I think the majority of clientele, if you actually get to try one, would agree. That's all I'm saying about that. I don't know anything about the HAC on deliveries and production, and I quite frankly don't know many divisions that plan on selling it. That's just what I know. I could be wrong, but I don't know much about it because we're not bringing it in.
Yeah, if you want a fast scope for the southern skies, the Quattros are amazing.
There's a Quattro 150
right there. There's a Quattro 150 right there.
They're like f3.45 with the included corrector, and it's like 600 US, and it's fast, and it weighs like 12 pounds, and it works fine.
Yeah. Fantastic little scopes.
Let's see. Okay. Can you use SynScan Pro app to select target and then use hand controller to center? I tried, but a lot of backlash. So you really shouldn't mix and match. Actually, the mounts can get confused. You either want to pick the controller or the Wi-Fi adapter, but using
or a
both.
Computer or the hand controller or the something, but pick one, because if you give it more than one command, the mount, it gets lost and it'll start doing weird stuff on you.
Yeah, because it's going from essentially one brain to another, and it can throw it off and cause yourself problems, which it sounds like you're actually seeing that with the backlash because it doesn't know where to go off of. So like Alex said, pick one and stick with that one. Don't jump between the controls because the alignment is actually saved
in whatever unit's controlling
whatever you did the alignment with.
Yeah, so if you're using software, like say you're running Stellarium on your PC and you're using that to run the mount, any of those people that use it know that you start up the SynScan first. Then once you have that, you start up the thing, and it basically hands off its controls to Stellarium to run it. Once that happens, if you try to run it with something else, say like your hand controller or something, it's going to be like, wait, what's going on? And then it gets pulled two different directions, and the mount starts doing weird stuff.
Any word on updated Quattros? No, I've got no information on updated Quattros at this point. Only, the 150 right
150 was
there
the latest one.
is
Yeah.
it, but I have no other information on. I know there was like an upgraded Quattro shown at a show at the end of last year. It was a prototype. I have no information other than that at this point.
Yeah, the Quattros work great, and really, I don't see any way to improve them unless you're going to charge a lot more for them.
Yeah, you'd have to do machine spider and stuff, which that prototype one had all that. No idea on if or when they're coming, or the price on them. So unfortunately, yeah, I've got nothing, no information on that one. We have cool stuff in the works, but that's not one of the things I have here to test. Can an autofocuser like a ZWO EAF be installed on a Skywatcher Flex 2 Dobsonian?
Probably.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why. Well, lunar or planetary imaging, or you could do lucky imaging on that. You could probably do it. I have never done it, so I can't actually speak from experience on it. But the EAFs come with a bunch of different like step down systems and a universal adapter, so you could probably make it work. I'm sure someone's actually done it.
Right.
I have just not done it. I don't think Alex has done it either. So
No. One thing about installing any kind of focuser, autofocuser on your telescope, before you do it, make sure your focuser is running really well. Make sure you've got it dialed in. It's running good. I get people that call all the time. I just put my ZWO on this telescope and it doesn't run. I'm like, all right, we'll take it off and see how the focuser. And then they go and they're like, the focuser isn't working well. I'm like, okay, let's adjust the focuser and then go back and then put it back on. And then they're like, okay, it works great now. But make sure your focuser works good before you put an autofocuser on it. It's just going to exaggerate any issues.
No, that's a good rule of thumb, actually, with motor focusers. The motor's not going to fix up any issues that are already present in the focuser assembly itself. If you're having issues when there, it probably is going to amplify it, if anything. So, make sure you've tuned up your focuser before you go install all these other things.
And I have guides on the Crawford focusers. I have guides for the Esprit focusers. So if you need one, let me know, and I'll send that out to you.
Here's one from Nico. I've read speculation that strain wave mounts may not last as long as the traditional mounts. Any thoughts?
That's a big gear. I would think it would take quite a while to wear out. So.
The one thing I guess I do question about the strain waves, and they haven't been out long enough,
right,
from really anybody, to know how it's gonna go down. But in a strain wave mount, you have what's called the flex spline assembly, which is a flexible assembly that when you have the middle wave generator rotates inside of that, it is flexing that flex spline, and that has teeth on the outside that then mate up with the outer gear. The outer gear is a lot thicker, so that flex spline is what's doing all the work. So there's two sets of teeth. This is my version of me being a strain wave assembly. I should just 3D print one and show people. That would work. But that flex spline is flexing, and I have to imagine that maybe over time that can break down because it is flexing. Now, I don't know. I don't know that we really have a lot of information on that. That just might be the wear and tear that may occur, but so far I have nothing to really state that being true. But every mount, everything is going to wear down at some point. Yeah. If I had to decide one, there's so many people that are like EQ mounts are going to disappear. No, they're not. Strain waves don't scale well. We've had this conversation multiple times. And if you get much larger than like the Wave 150 or AM5 or a lot of these popular ones, you're really starting to go against what a strain wave is about. A strain wave is supposed to be lightweight and compact, but holding a lot of weight. Well, you completely lost the train of thought on that if you made a strain wave that holds
150
80
pounds,
pounds, 100
80 pounds.
pounds,
Yeah.
and weighs 20 pounds, yay, and then needs like a 60-pound tripod or more so it doesn't fall over. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's definitely possible. You can definitely scale them up. It's just you start losing the advantages really quickly. It's like a refractor. Sure,
Right.
we can make an 8-inch refractor. It's 5 feet long and it weighs, 60 pounds. But sure, you can do it. I think there's a market for larger strain wave mounts, but you have to keep in mind that people like them because they're lightweight and they don't need counterweights. Yeah, that's great until you put like a C14 on one, and now you need something where it doesn't fall over. So there's a market, but you need to also keep in mind the constraints of the strain wave mounts. So,
Yep.
ta-da. So, yeah, I've got more questions here, but they're just kind of like product thoughts. Do you have any other little notes floating around, Alex, you want to throw in before we jump back into?
Let's see what I want to go. Oh yeah, yeah. So I kind of covered this a little bit earlier, but when you guys message in, you got to be our eyes. So I'm going to kind of go through different levels of testing. So bear with me when we do that. What other notes did I have? Uh, There's a whole bunch of stuff going on this week. We've had some fun tickets too this week. So, you know, um, and for those of you who don't know, we do anywhere from like 700 to 800 tickets a month. So we are busy over here. If
Yeah.
it takes us a little bit of time to get back to you, just be patient. We're trying to help everybody. Our main goal is to have you out under the stars with your mount running well. That's
Yes.
all we're here for.
Yeah, if you're frustrated, we're frustrated because we get it, especially Alex and I, because we use the stuff all the time. Alex has mounts out all the time, so do I. And when stuff doesn't work, it's frustrating. We get it. So we're doing our best to get you taken care of. And at times that might mean, hey, I need you to run this for me. The alternative is you send it in and we get to it when it gets to it.
And
And that's
repairs run 3 to 4 weeks. So, if we
assuming
can,
there's nothing needed. So
right. And if we can figure out what's going on over the phone and have you fix it, then boom, life's good, man. You're back in the field.
yeah, but yeah, if you call in or write in, just understand we are trying to get you taken care of, but we do need stuff from you. I can't just magically snap and Alex has made it better. At times it's awesome when we can do that, but other times it's gonna take some time to figure it out, especially because I test all of our prototype stuff, and when you can only test something at night, you're kind of just sitting around waiting for the time to do it. So
Right. Remember, you guys have invested basically in scientific instruments. And sometimes these things take a little bit of work and a little bit of precision to keep running well. But we're here to help you guys and make sure that they run well for you. Like I said, Kevin and I are out all the time shooting. Kevin does a ton of outreach. I call Kevin. He's like, no, I'm busy Friday, Saturday. I've got events and stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll get together, play guitar another time or whatever. But it's kind of one of those things to where we know the frustration and we understand. I can give you a quick thing. I was out in the field and I set up my mount and I figured I knew where north was, so I pointed the telescope there and the sun went down. I went to polar line and I'm watching my X and Y like kind of cross over as I'm trying to align it, and I'm like, all right, shut everything down, put it back in home position, re-level it, and I basically started from scratch because I know the mount so well that when I started going through and doing my alignment, I realized there was something off with my level. But if you use the mount, get out and use it, you're going to start noticing these things. Okay, this is another weird thing I'm going to share with you. I name my mounts. And the reason why is because when you name your mount, you start seeing its personality. When you start seeing its personality, you know when it's having a good night, you know when it's having a bad night, and you know when it just needs to be reset and start over. I know
yep,
it's a funny thing, but this kind of comes from my guitar playing for years. I've had friends that are like, name your guitar. That way, when it does stuff, you know what it's doing. And I've kind of taken that same thing and crossed over into mounts. I've got an 8 out here, and I call that max because it's my big guy. And then 6 is in the garage right now because I usually travel with that. So that's my EQ6 in the garage, and the 8 set up permanently in the backyard. But those are their names. And so when Max is acting up, I'll reset them and go through and figure out what's going on and make them happy and get them running good. And then, half an hour of figuring out what's going on, and I'm back online.
yep. I've got some friends who name their scopes as well because scopes do it the same way. Some of them just get temperamental at times, and you got to know how to work with it. So, and even premium mounts, everyone's like, well, if I spent more money, no,
They
it's the
have issues
same
too.
thing. I
Yep.
have Paramounts that I love dearly. I've had to have arguments with them. It's just, and it's not even them. It's just something weird happened. You just have to reset sometimes and clear it. And it happens with every single thing. Telescopes, mounts, whatever. Things happen. You work on it and fix it. You don't just buy something and there's no maintenance. It just doesn't. It's like a car. And you have to be careful with telescope stuff because we're also plugging in stuff from all different manufacturers
Absolutely.
to make our setups work, which adds a lot of variables and it
Absolutely.
complicates things.
You have a mount from one company, a scope from another company, a guider from another company. Your cameras are from 2 different companies. You're running into a PC. You got 3 different kinds of software running the mount, and it's a cable that messed up your whole night. I mean,
Yep.
you know,
Always the USBs. It's always the USBs.
switch to EQ mod. Switch to EQ mod if
Yeah.
you're running that way. Just save you the time, save you the frustration. Just switch.
Yep. Any plans of making a premium 8-inch Dobsonian? What would you like to see that, like the flex tube? Obviously, I understand that our Dobsonians are not like Ryan at New Moon's telescopes. Those are handmade, and they're usually using like Zambuto mirrors and top grade. But you pay a lot of money for those things because they're works of art. So what would you like to see in a premium Dob from us? That I understand that our Dobs may not have the premium focusers like Feather Touch and stuff like that. The problem is, here's the deal with premium stuff. The problem is there's a very small group of people who buy it. If you want premium, you usually know where to go. So if I make a premium version of the Flex Tube that's streamlined and it's got like a certified mirror on it and the focuser's upgrade, it costs a lot more. And then people don't buy it. That's the problem. We got a lot of people. It's like, if you just did this or if you just made that, you would sell this. It never really happens that way. So we have to look at it from what fits our market for what Skywatcher does. Now, if you want premium Dobs, I would highly recommend Ryan at New Moon Telescopes. We even had him on years ago, and check his stuff out. But remember, when you put premium on something, your top grade everything, you're paying for it. So when people come to us, they want a nice scope for a good price, and that's what we offer. That's our business model. So
Yep, and I'm seeing a lot more people try to image with Dobsonians, and that's a whole challenge in its own right. Because really the Dobs aren't pro mounts; they're not designed to image. People are imaging with them. So if you do look
some good
online, you
stuff
can
come
find a
from
lot
them,
of
but
information.
there's
Yeah,
you got to be willing to work with the corks of a Dob. So
yeah, absolutely.
is there a way to attach a 2-inch diagonal to the SkyMax 102? Maybe with a custom adapter. The problem is by
Yeah.
putting a 2-inch on like a SkyMax 102, the baffle opening on the rear is only so big, and the light throughput might not even be enough to illuminate a 2-inch eyepiece. So therefore, you start vignetting. So there's a good chance that it doesn't make much sense, even if you could. Which you can get anything you want machined.
Yeah.
Especially with precise parts out there. You pay for it.
If you want to go to a 2-inch, you're going to want to go up to like the 127.
Yeah, which is equipped for it right out of the box. So
absolutely.
Let's see. You'll have to clarify for this, Ernie. Do you have a recommendation on PM tasks schedule for an EQ6R Pro? I don't know that I really understand what you're asking there. As far as like tasks and a schedule for an EQ6R, any mount for that matter. I mean, I'm sure, Alex, you're the same way. You go out, you balance it, you make sure you're polar aligned, you turn it on and go.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And actually, one other thing I do is we put these little tiny levels in there, and I don't know how much they cost to put one of those things in there. So they're not the most accurate instrument on your machine. So literally when I set up, I take a little bullet level and I'll level the top of the mount tripod before I put the mount head on. Once I put the mount head on, I'll look at the bubble, and if the bubble's a little off, just take a Sharpie and dot right where it should be.
That's a good way of doing it. I should do that with my mounts. But we have little bevel levels. Most of the time they're pretty close, but like Alex said, they're cheap little bubble levels, and I don't know how exact they are.
There's a little one.
Yeah, there's one. It's enough to get you in the ballpark, but it wouldn't be bad if you actually took the time to really dialed it in and just dot.
Yeah.
Like,
but if you're going to be imaging, take the extra 2 minutes. Check your level. It'll save you some headaches.
Preventative maintenance.
There you go. Store in a dry, cool area. If you're out where there might be a lot of like environmental stuff, you might wipe stuff down when you're done at the end of the day.
One thing I would do if you're leaving it wrapped up, I've had a lot of people put a cover on it. And if you're in a really damp environment, covers can cause problems because all that condensation rises as it heats up during the day, builds up, and then drips all over your hardware. So what I would normally do is I would just let it breathe, especially if you're setting up. Let the sun come up for a little bit, evaporate some of it, then put the covers on it. Unless you live where Alex and I live, and humidity is about the closest thing to the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot. But it has happened before, where especially with 365 covers, which are the best covers ever, but they're really thick and there's no ventilation other than the bottom. So let things air out. Let's see.
I live in the desert, so I know that if we're going to have monsoons and stuff, if I have a scope out there, I'll actually take the scope off the mount and then cover it. I don't want it out there with all that humidity, rain, wind, everything else. I mean, bad things can happen when you have high winds.
Preventative maintenance, like lubing the gearing and stuff like that. I really wouldn't recommend opening it up, but I'll hand this one to Alex because you deal with this a lot. So.
No, but the biggest thing is with all the fine threads we use and working in the desert and stuff like that, or working in remote locations. We're at dirt locations or dirt lots or in the mountains. I do recommend whenever you're putting fine threads together, just wipe them down real quick before you stick them together. The main post that goes up into like the EQ6 base, wipe that down real quick before you thread it in there. If you're using extension tubes, just use like a wipe cloth. Just wipe it off really quick and then screw them together. I don't know how many times I've had like extension tubes locked together and be like, this is never coming apart again.
I have a few that are never coming apart. I call them Excalibur. The Sword and the Stone.
Yeah, but literally just wiping things down really quick, it's going to save you some time if you're in a dirty or dusty or sandy environment. Also, if you see any rust on any bolts at all, a little penetrating oil on your finger, just rub it in there. It'll clean it right up and keep the bolt protected. Yeah.
As far as like the gears and stuff, we use something called Super Lube. That's what is used in all of our mounts. They don't gunk it on heavy like it used to be. It's actually really decently done in there. But you shouldn't really have to mess with any of the lubing and, taking the grease off of a gear. Maybe every several years you'd want to go through and crack that open. You can always send it in and we'll service it for you. It might be some money to get it done because we have to scrape through and take things apart. But belts, don't put any grease on the belts. The belts are like a Kevlar infused rubber. They last a long time. We very rarely have to actually mess with belts on these mounts. If you need new belts, I think we have a shipment coming in soon as well. But you shouldn't have to change belts that often. On an EQ6, there's not a lot you really need to do with it, honestly. So
right, they just run and run and run. And if you're one of those guys that like to tinker with your mounts, don't over adjust those belts, man. You should have a little bit of flex in those belts. I get guys that are like, it won't move at all. I'm like, well, that's why the wheel's kind of going like this now, because when you over tightened it, it's been pulling on that thing now for 6 months.
I've had people crack the axles on the motors before where they shear off because over time there's so much stress on it and temperature change that it cracks it. Even though it's stainless, it breaks sometimes. Don't mess with the backlash. The gear mesh on an EQ6 or any mount for that matter is really well tuned, and there's such little give between being too tight and too loose. And we try to explain to people how to do it. I've told people how to do it. It's really something you have to practice at because you really have to feel it. It's all about feel. It's a lot like music, honestly. You just have to have the feel for what it should be like. And I could tell you all day long what it should be like, but it's really hard to do that over the phone or email. Our team does it all the time. So you get really good at being like, yeah, that feels about right. But a lot of people like to go in and adjust backlash out of the box. Please don't do it. It does really well most of the time. If you do have an issue, that's what the warranty's for, and we'll take care of it. So.
Yep. And remember, if you fine tune your backlash in summer, you'll have an issue in winter.
Yep. So, instead of acclimating scopes, some people insulate. Any comments on the effectiveness of that? I've never insulated any of my scopes. A lot of times my gear is out an hour or so before I even use it, so it has plenty of time to acclimate. I know a lot of people do it.
Doesn't have to be on your mount. You can just pull it out, set it outside, and let it start, getting used to the temperature and adjusting.
It's like a bottle of wine. Open it up, give it about an hour, and let it breathe. That's a new shirt. Okay, Jeff and Jared, who are let it breathe.
Let your telescope breathe.
Yeah. So I don't know. I can't really comment on that, insulating it. I know it's really popular on Schmidt Cassegrains and some of the Macs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you gotta think about it. Where's the cutoff on that? We have a friend, Paul, who has a 28-inch Obsession, and he's like, yeah, the mirror finally cools down usually about 6 in the morning. So literally his mirror's so thick it takes all night for it to cool down.
Yeah.
And so, there are different things out there that will affect how your stuff cools. But if you keep it out or bring it out a couple hours early, you should be good.
Yeah. And I understand some of you are saying we're not tinkering here. This is just broad brush strokes that we're saying, because we do get a lot of people who get it and mess around with it. And I'm not saying that some mounts might not need adjustment. It does happen, especially the smaller mounts sometimes can be difficult because they're smaller parts.
The EQM35 has the gears outside. So somebody tosses in the back of the car, they get the thing, they got to adjust them before they use them if it hit those gears.
Yeah, so some mounts are more susceptible than others. I'm not saying that everything is perfect. But if you have an issue, especially if it's new, let us know so we can help you and you don't void your warranty on it, or at least let us walk you through what you need to do. So I'm not saying everything is perfect out of the box. A lot of times it is, but we've had numerous people mess up a mount that was perfectly fine because they just read something that the first thing you should do is do this. And you don't need to do that. Now, if you do have issues, that's why Alex and I are here. And our repair team is here. And we'll help you out on whether working with you over the phone or email or getting it in and getting it repaired.
And having the guys take care of it. Yeah, whatever it takes, guys.
So we have a few minutes left. So if you guys have any more questions there, throw them out there. But I think we've answered everything that's floating around at the moment. Alex, what do you think of like dollies and stuff? You leave your stuff just set up and ready to go.
Yeah. The EQ8 mount has been in that place now for about 2 years. So it's done 100 days over 110 for the last 2 years. So it doesn't have a heat issue. But dollies, I get a lot of people that call that want dollies and stuff like that. And they're kind of a nice option if you have a covered area or something and want to move or a garage and you want to move your unit in and out. I heard there's a new dolly maker coming too. I don't have much information on that as well, but I know Farpoint was doing dollies for a while. I don't know.
They were doing they took over JMI and started making their dollies, but I haven't heard anybody getting them lately. I don't know I don't look into the dollies much because I don't need them and Alex doesn't need it. But for those of you who are, you could check with JMI as Farpoint, but you'd have to ask them. I don't work with them on a regular basis and I just don't know. So
yeah, and the big thing is going to be the foot measurement, if you're going to get a dolly. So if you want to know the numbers, give us a call. We can get those for you.
Question: Am I not supposed to carry around the SAGTI mount on the tripod with the scope on it? Does it stress the gears?
You mean like the GTI all set up and stuff, carry it out?
Yeah,
I do, but I wouldn't. The gears aren't really designed for a lot of weight, and if you take a bang on that thing, you could knock the RA out, and then we have to bring it in and reset the clutch.
usually if I have a scope like Alex's little, if you can see behind him, he's got his EvoStar 80 with the Lunt filters on it.
Yeah.
Um, at times I'll pick that all up. If I have my own version of that, pick it up and take it outside. If the scope's getting towards the upper limit of a mount though, particularly on a bigger one, I just take the whole optical tube assembly off, take the mount out, and then take it all out, because last thing I want to do is trip with all of that together as
Yeah.
well. So it's more of a safety thing. For
The,
short little to the backyard inside, it's probably fine. But if you're going in the car or some bumpy thing, take that all apart. Don't strain the gears. And even when you travel with a mount, leave the clutches disengaged, because if you have it locked down and wrenched down,
and you take a big bump on the highway, and
it can mess up the clutches because they're fighting to keep it in place. So just keep it loose. So
yeah. The Star Adventure GTI, I'd make sure I take the telescope off if I move it out, just because it's got the RA clutch and the declination clutch. And if you've got 11 pounds on top of that thing and you take a hit, it could definitely knock the clutch out, and then we'd have to bring it in.
the clutches, they have some small threads in there and they work, but if it takes a bigger hit, you can damage it, and it's a thing. So
Yeah, and our mini mounts are just that, to be portable and to be in the field and to be, be used when you're not using your big mount.
any thoughts on the Mac Newtonian 1.9 usage? Like what? Here's one thing I would mention if you're writing a question in. Don't be afraid to elaborate a little bit more, just so we can get the idea what you want, what you'd like to know particularly about it. What about the 190 would you like to know? Are you imaging with it? Are you doing visual with it? Do you have one? Are you thinking about getting one? What would you like to know? We only have a few minutes left, so elaborate on that a little bit. Be happy to give you the best answer we can. I just don't know exactly what details you're looking for.
Yeah, or
moment.
again, just shoot me an email, support@skywatcherusa.com, and we'll take it on there.
It is. We like those emails if you just have like a generic set of questions on it, because then we can kind of tell you the story of like, hey, this is why they're cool. And they're actually kind of refreshing emails to get, rather than like, I have a problem and you need to fix this and da 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 da. We love doing tech stuff where we can actually start talking shop.
And the 190 is a fun scope. It has kind of a, sorry to jump back. It has a cult following.
Yeah, they do.
People love it.
Everybody who has one loves it, and you rarely see them come up on the used market much. They're not our most popular telescope, but everybody I've ever met who buys one loves it, and they keep it for a long time. So you don't see the 190s come up on the used market too much. It's like a 6-inch APO refractor, though, when you look through one of them. So
yeah, it's beautiful to look through the eyepiece. It's got a little
sharp
thing that slides out. You put your eyepiece in there. It's really a cool setup.
But if we don't answer it, you can always email Alex at support@skywatcherusa.com on any questions on products that you have. We're happy to answer it for you. So, thinking of buying it, using it for photography. Okay.
Yep.
It's a great telescope. It's f5.3. So it's fast
corrected.
and snappy. Like Alex said, it's corrected. There's no coma. You don't need a coma corrector. Technically it does have coma, but it has half the coma of a similar Newtonian. So it's well corrected. It's really designed for like crop sensors, so like a ZWO 2600 or smaller. So it really just depends on what your camera you're looking for. It's not great for full frame chips, but if you're doing a crop sensor or like a 533 something small, it's great for that. It's 1,000 millimeter focal length, so it's really good on a wide range of stuff from galaxies to nebulas to even wider things depending on the chip size. But it's a great all-around scope to use. I would say it's one weak point if I'm just being blatantly upfront and honest. A lot of people like to switch the focuser out for like a moonlight focuser just to make it a little bit more solid. That's the one little caveat that people like to switch out. But even as you get it, it's pretty decent how it is. So I think that's it.
Holy smoly. It's 11.
Cool. Well, you have anything you want to add, Alex?
Nope. I got to get back to the phones. Answer these
Well,
calls.
we will let you guys. Oh, he's using a 533. Yeah, that would be a great combo. Actually,
Yeah.
it'd be really well corrected too at a 533. So,
Yeah.
no, that'd be a great combo for one of those. So go for it. So. All right, guys, it's 11 o'clock. Alex and I have to get back to work now. So if you have any questions for support, email Alex at support@skywatchusa.com. If you like what you see here, please like and subscribe. Definitely go over to skywatcher.threadless.com to pick up your cool Skywatcher swag. It lets us know we're doing a good job here. Leave a like and subscribe. We have a bunch of stuff on sale this month. 25th anniversary scopes are available. Alex got his there. And that's pretty much it. So please have a great weekend out there. There's a little moon floating out there, so something fun. Stay cool, and we will see you guys next week. We're talking imaging filters. So thanks for your time, Alex.
Yeah. Clear skies, guys.
All right. See ya. Bye.
Bye.